What if I told you that UFOs have been part of the human experience for thousands of years?
Official revealed today that the U.S. government is investigating more than 600 potential UFO sightings.
Of course, we're talking UFOs again.
On UFO sightings today, saying an additional 366 sightings.
A UFO whistleblower in the U.S.
It sounds sensational, but UFOs are not just a recent phenomenon, even though they seem to be in the news more often nowadays. From tic-tac-shaped objects being sighted frequently to the numerous reports of unidentified aerial phenomena, UFOs have become part of daily discourse. So far this year, there have already been 38 reports filed with the National UFO Reporting Center. But despite how common UFO sightings have become, the reality is that they've been with us for a very long time. Keep watching as we uncover the history of UFO sightings and share the details of a recent sighting of an unidentified black object that has left scientists shocked. To understand how UFOs have been perceived throughout history, we need to look beyond modern sightings and dig deep into historical records, ancient texts, and long-forgotten accounts that suggest humans have been encountering strange, unidentified flying objects for millennia. This exploration into the history of UFOs might just change how you perceive the subject, and maybe you'll start to see that what we think of as a modern mystery is actually an age-old puzzle. The perception of UFOs as alien spacecraft is a relatively recent idea, but the sightings themselves have been documented for thousands of years. Even in ancient times, people described seeing strange objects in the sky, often attributing them to the gods or to natural phenomena that they didn't understand. One of the earliest known accounts of a UFO sighting comes from ancient Rome and the Roman historian Livy, who was one of the first people to record such events. Titus Livius, better known as Livy, lived between 59 BC and 17 AD, and he is considered one of the most important sources for information about the Roman Republic. In his work, Ab Urbe Condita, from the founding of the city, Livy documented many significant events, including strange occurrences in the sky. Livy recorded the appearance of phantom ships gleaming in the sky during the build-up to the Second Punic War, around 216 to 217 BC. These sightings were considered prodigies, warnings from the gods, indicating conflict and misfortune. The people of the time believed these were divine signs, but modern interpretations suggest that these sightings could have been UFOs. The description of phantom ships gleaming in the sky aligns with modern accounts of metallic or disc-shaped objects often seen during UFO sightings. But since ancient people interpreted the world through their religious and mythological lenses, it's likely they didn't know how to describe such phenomena in any other way. In addition to Livy's records, other Roman historians and philosophers documented UFO sightings. One such account comes from the island of Capri in 2017, where Livy described seeing round shields, known as parmas, in the night sky. Roman shields, or parmas, were circularly made of metal, which sounds eerily similar to the metallic discs that people reported seeing today. These shield-shaped objects hovering in the sky left a lasting impression on the people of ancient Rome, much like modern UFO sightings have sparked intrigue in people around the world. What makes these accounts even more fascinating is how they mirror modern descriptions of UFOs. Whether it's the circular shape, the metallic appearance, or the unexplained nature of the phenomenon, the similarities are too close to ignore. Another ancient Roman philosopher, Seneca the Younger, who lived from 4 BC to 65 AD, also recorded strange phenomena in the sky. Seneca, best known for his writings on Stoicism, documented sightings of odd objects flying in the sky. Although Seneca was a philosopher and not a historian, his records offer another ancient perspective on unidentified flying objects. Seneca is famous for his profound observations on life, but he also noted strange happenings in the sky that didn't have an easy explanation. These sightings, recorded by ancient philosophers and historians, suggested that UFO sightings are not confined to modern times. Rather, they've been occurring for millennia, perhaps even as far back as human memory goes. As we move forward in history, we find that UFO sightings didn't stop with the Romans. During the medieval period, numerous accounts of strange objects in the sky were recorded across Europe and other parts of the world. Like the ancient Romans, medieval people often interpreted these sightings as divine signs, omens, or supernatural phenomena. One of the most famous medieval UFO sightings occurred in 1561 over the city of Nuremberg, Germany. Citizens reported seeing a large-scale aerial battle between strange cylindrical objects and disks in the sky. This event was so significant that it was later depicted in a woodcut by Hans Glaser, a local artist. According to reports, the sky was filled with what looked like hundreds of glowing objects, some shaped like spheres, others like crosses and tubes. The objects appeared to be engaged in combat, firing beams of light at each other. After an hour, the objects either fell to the ground or disappeared. The people of Nuremberg were terrified, and many believed it was a sign from God. Modern interpretations of the event suggest that what citizens witnessed may have been a mass UFO sighting. The fact that so many people saw the same thing lends credibility to the event as one of the most well-documented UFO sightings in history. Just 5 years later, after the Nuremberg event, another mass UFO sighting occurred in the Swiss city of Basel. In 1566, people reported seeing strange black spheres in the sky, engaging in what appeared to be battle. The event was documented by Samuel Cocius, a local scholar, and was later depicted in a woodcut similar to the Nuremberg incident. Witnesses described the objects as black spheres that darted across the sky, seemingly attacking one another. Both the Nuremberg and Basel incidents bear striking similarities to modern UFO sightings, particularly the idea of unidentified objects engaging in aerial combat. Some researchers believe that these events may have been early examples of UFO sightings, though they were interpreted through the lens of the religious and superstitious beliefs of the time. UFO sightings have also appeared in various forms of art and literature throughout history. Many ancient and medieval works of art feature strange objects in the sky that resemble modern descriptions of UFOs. These objects are often depicted in religious scenes, leading some researchers to believe that ancient artists may have been trying to depict UFO sightings within the context of their religious beliefs. One famous example is a painting called the Madonna with Saint Giovanni, created in the 15th century by Domenico Ghirlandaio. In the background of the painting, a strange disc-shaped object is seen hovering in the sky. A man and his dog are depicted staring up at the object, which appears to be emitting rays of light. Some researchers believe that this object resembles a UFO, while others argue that this is simply a representation of a divine sign. Another famous painting, The Baptism of Christ by Art de Gelder, also shows a strange object in the sky. In this painting, a disc-shaped object is emitting beams of light onto the scene below, where Christ is being baptized by John the Baptist. Like the Madonna with Saint Giovanni, this painting has sparked debate over whether the object is a UFO or a religious symbol. While it's difficult to say for certain whether these works of art depict actual UFO sightings, the similarities to modern descriptions of UFOs are hard to ignore. Throughout history, artists have often used symbolism to represent things that are difficult to explain, and it's possible that these paintings are visual records of UFO sightings interpreted through the religious and cultural beliefs of the time. In addition to visual art, UFOs have also been mentioned in ancient texts. Many religious and historical writings contain descriptions of strange objects in the sky, though these objects are often interpreted as signs from the gods or supernatural beings. The Bible contains several passages that some researchers believe describe UFO sightings. One of the most famous examples is the story of Ezekiel's vision. In the book of Ezekiel, the prophet describes seeing a whirlwind come out of the north, along with a great cloud and a fire enfolding itself. He goes on to describe 4 living creatures, each with 4 faces and 4 wings, and a wheel that moves in unison with the creatures. Many UFO researchers interpret this vision as a possible encounter with an extraterrestrial spacecraft. While traditional interpretations of Ezekiel's vision focus on its religious significance, some modern scholars argue that the description of the wheels within wheels and the strange beings could be evidence of an ancient UFO sighting. Of course, this interpretation is highly controversial and most religious scholars reject the idea that Ezekiel was describing a UFO. Ancient Indian texts also contain references to flying machines and strange objects in the sky. The Vimanas, described in ancient Vedic texts, are said to be flying machines used by the gods. These machines are often depicted as circular or disc-shaped, much like modern UFOs. Some researchers believe that the Vimanas could be evidence of ancient UFO sightings, or even advanced technology used by extraterrestrial beings. Like the Bible, the Vedic texts are religious in nature, and traditional interpretations focus on the spiritual significance of the Vimanas. However, detailed descriptions of these flying machines have led some to speculate that the ancient Indians may have had contact with advanced beings from another world. As we move into more recent history, UFO sightings become more frequent, especially after the invention of modern flight and radar technology. The 20th century saw an explosion of UFO reports, particularly after World War II. With advances in aviation and the development of powerful radar systems, more objects in the sky were detected, and many could not be readily explained. The most notable early event was the Roswell incident in 1947. In Roswell, New Mexico, reports circulated that a flying disc had crashed in the desert. The U.S. military initially confirmed the story, but later retracted it, stating that the wreckage was from a weather balloon. This sudden reversal led to widespread speculation about a cover-up, fueling the idea that the government was hiding evidence of extraterrestrial life. Around the same time, another famous event occurred, the Kenneth Arnold sighting. In June 1947, pilot Kenneth Arnold reported seeing 9 crescent-shaped objects flying at high speed near Mount Rainier in Washington state. Arnold's account made headlines, and the term flying saucer was born, even though the objects he described were not saucer-shaped. Nevertheless, the sighting marked the beginning of the modern UFO craze, with countless other sightings reported in the following years. In the 1950s and 1960s, UFO sightings increased dramatically, coinciding with the Cold War era. Many speculated that these sightings were actually secret military tests or new Soviet technologies. However, for others, these sightings represented something more mysterious, possible visits from beings beyond our planet. During this period, UFOlogy, the study of UFOs, began to take shape as a more formal field of interest, with various organizations springing up to investigate sightings and claims. One significant moment during this time was the 1952 Washington, D.C. UFO Incident. In July 1952, multiple UFOs were detected by radar over the nation's capital, and airline pilots reported seeing strange lights in the sky. The sightings prompted public concern, and even the U.S. Air Force launched an investigation. Although the official explanation pointed to temperature inversions, many were unsatisfied with this conclusion, believing it was yet another attempt by the government to downplay potential alien activity. The U.S. government was, in fact, paying attention to the rise in UFO reports. In 1952, the Air Force initiated Project Blue Book, the most well-known of several official studies into UFO sightings. Over the next 2 decades, Project Blue Book investigated thousands of sightings, with the goal of determining whether UFOs posed a threat to national security. While most of the cases were explained as natural phenomena or misidentified aircraft, a small percentage of sightings remained unexplained, which only added to public interest in UFOs. Despite the efforts of Project Blue Book, sightings continued, and the culture surrounding UFOs grew. Science fiction films and books, many of which depicted alien invasions or space exploration, became incredibly popular in the mid-20th century. These depictions only added to the collective imagination surrounding the idea of extraterrestrial visitors. In particular, movies like The Day the Earth Stood Still and Close Encounters of the Third Kind captured the fascination of the public, offering portrayals of peaceful, intelligent beings visiting Earth, quite different from the earlier depictions of hostile alien invaders. In the 1970s, UFOlogy entered a new phase, with increasing reports of alien abductions. The most famous case from this era is that of Betty and Barney Hill, who claimed to have been abducted by aliens while driving through New Hampshire in 1961. Their story was the first widely publicized case of alien abduction, and remains one of the most well-known to this day. The Hills described their captors as humanoid beings with large eyes, a description that would become a standard feature in later abduction accounts. As the Hills story spread, more and more people came forward with their own abduction experiences, often recounting similar details. These stories added a new layer to UFOlogy, as they suggested that not only were extraterrestrials visiting Earth, but they were also interacting with humans in direct and often invasive ways. Hypnosis was frequently used to help alleged abductees recover memories from their experiences, though this practice remains highly controversial as it's known that hypnosis can lead to false memories. The abduction phenomenon reached its peak in the 1980s and 1990s. One of the most famous cases from this period is that of Whitley Strieber, a science fiction author who wrote about his own experiences with alien abduction in the book Communion. Strieber's accounts, along with those of other abductees, painted a picture of extraterrestrials conducting medical experiments on humans, often against their will. The typical abductors were described as greys, small gray-skinned beings with large heads and eyes, a now iconic image in UFO lore. While the 20th century was filled with UFO sightings and abduction reports, the early 21st century has seen a resurgence in government interest in UFOs, albeit under a new name, Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon, or UAP. In 2017, a bombshell report in the New York Times revealed the existence of a secret Pentagon program known as the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, also called AATIP. This program, which had been in operation from 2007 to 2012, was tasked with investigating UAPs and determining whether they posed a threat to national security. The AATIP revelations led to a renewed public interest in UFOs, especially after the release of several videos showing unidentified objects performing aerial maneuvers that seemed to defy the capabilities of known human technology. These videos, captured by U.S. Navy pilots, quickly went viral, and the U.S. government later confirmed their authenticity. The objects, dubbed Tic Tacs due to their shape, moved in ways that baffled military experts, accelerating rapidly and changing direction without any visible propulsion systems. In 2020, the U.S. Department of Defense formally established the UAP Task Force, further signifying that UFOs, or UAPs as they are now called, were being taken seriously by government agencies. The release of a report in 2021 by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence summarized the findings of the UAP Task Force. Out of 144 UAP sightings between 2004 and 2021, only one was definitively explained, leaving the rest unresolved. The report acknowledged that while some UAPs could be explained by weather phenomenon, foreign surveillance, or classified military programs, others remain a mystery. Now, let's discuss a recent UFO sighting that's left the whole world in a state of awe. This image shows a mysterious figure emerging from the water with two bright, glowing lights resembling eyes. The object appears to be partially submerged, with the light standing out starkly against the dark background. This eerie sight could easily be mistaken for a UFO, especially considering how its lights seem to pierce through the surrounding darkness. The reflection in the water adds to the unsettling feeling that something out of the ordinary is happening. Given its context, this could be interpreted as a UFO or an unknown entity rising from the depths, especially since its exact form is unclear. The lights, resembling typical UFO sightings of unidentified glowing objects, create an air of mystery and intrigue. It's almost as if this craft has emerged from another dimension or an underwater base, waiting to reveal itself to whoever dares to observe. The image leaves viewers with more questions than answers, feeding into the idea of UFOs and alien encounters. Is this an extraterrestrial craft making a sudden appearance, or is it a terrestrial object with an inexplicable design? As more information comes to light, it becomes clear that the UFO phenomenon is far from being a closed case. While skeptics point to misidentified aircraft, weather balloons, and psychological forces as explanations for most sightings, there remains a persistent belief among some that we're being visited by extraterrestrial life. For them, the question's not whether UFOs are real, but how long it will take for governments and institutions to acknowledge what they've suspected for decades. The growing interest has extended beyond government agencies and into the scientific community. In 2021, the Galileo project was launched at Harvard University with the goal of scientifically investigating UAPs and the possibility of extraterrestrial technology. The project is led by Professor Avi Loeb, an astrophysicist who's made headlines for his controversial theory that the interstellar project Oumuamua, which passed through our solar system in 2017, might be an alien probe. Loeb's views are not widely accepted in the scientific community, but his work reflects a broader shift in how UFOs and UAPs are being perceived. Where once they were dismissed as fringe theories, they're now being considered as legitimate subjects of scientific inquiry. The shift has been fueled in part by the growing body of unexplained evidence and the increasing willingness of reputable figures to engage with the topic. Despite all this renewed attention, the UFO phenomenon remains deeply intertwined with questions of beliefs and perception. To many, UFOs are simply a modern myth, a reflection of our fascination with the unknown and our desire to find meaning in a vast and seemingly indifferent universe. Others see them as a sign that we're not alone, that there's more to reality than we can perceive, and that one day, perhaps soon, we'll have our definitive proof of extraterrestrial life. So what are your thoughts on this? Tell us in the comments below, and stay tuned for more exciting videos.